Hello and happy Friday. Welcome to today's Facebook Live. So, the topic, as you can see, is how to align your self-image with your desires. As a total life transformation coach, a feminine embodiment mentor, and sacred sexuality teacher, I do this work on myself and with my clients all of the time. And it's something that none of us are really immune to as far as making it a daily, even hourly task. And so I'm excited to share today some really practical, embodied ways to bring this more into focus, more into the forefront of your life. Because when we set goals, or when we identify a particular desire, or when we've really connected with a certain vision we have for the experience of ourselves, the experience of our lives that we are working towards, that we are expanding into, our tendency is to hello, welcome, Carol. Thank you for joining. I'm so excited to see who pops in. It's always a wonderful surprise who can join me on a Friday afternoon. So, as I was saying, when we sort of have this desire, have this vision that we are going for, our tendency is to start to focus on what needs to happen out there. How do I get from here to there? What do I need to do? How much of it do I need to do? How consistently do I need to do it? How do I need to do it? How long is it going to take? What is it that I need to fix or change? And we often completely overlook what I believe is the number one essential ingredient and aspect of the entire scenario that's actually running the show behind the scenes, and that is our self-image, our basically our self-identification. In other words, am I identifying myself as someone who can even have that? Or even better, am I identifying myself with someone who already has received it and is living it? Or is my self-image one of someone who has to work really hard to get it, or who struggles, or who, to get what they want, or who has to work really hard to even earn it or deserve it, or who isn't even worthy of having it in the first place, or who doesn't even know what she wants or never gets what she wants? So you might already, as you're listening to me, start to kind of cue into what kind of your familiar default is. So it's pretty common knowledge that scientists and psychologists really conclude that a person's self-image is the primary cause of success or failure in life. Now, I have my own views on success and failure. I don't really buy into those terms, but that would take a whole nother Facebook Live, which I should probably do that on. But in other words, let's just kind of simplify that, sort of take that out of the duality of right or wrong, good, bad, success or failure, and just look at it through the lens of our inner self-image is what is determining our life. So if you, for example, if you see yourself as shy, as not good enough, or as unlovable, unworthy, you will feel and act accordingly. I think we can all agree on that. And that is what will create results in your life, in your outer world, that reflect this image you're carrying in your mind, in your body, in your nervous system, in your psyche. And so even when we kind of, set a goal or start to go after a desire, and attempt to do things differently, we won't be able to deviate from the old pattern for very long, because our self-image sort of acts as a self-correcting mechanism. inside of you. So until we've changed the inside, we will continue to be kind of cycle back to the same situation. So we'll put weight on, we'll take it off, we'll put it back on, we'll get into an amazing relationship, and then we'll sabotage it and then end the relationship and then kind of do that all over again. Or we'll start earning money or start to grow and expand in new ways, and doors of new possibilities and opportunities will start to open. And then we'll maybe start to unconsciously stop doing the things that led to those events. Maybe you can recognize where that's taking place in your own life or has taken place. So essentially, if we want to improve any area of our lives, instead of focusing on what's happening or not happening out there, and on the condition that we want to improve, whether it's our living situation, our relationship status, our career status, our income level, the size and shape of our body, in order to live the way we want to be living, it's essential that we change what's going on internally. Essentially, that's what I'm getting at. So we have to, I'm going to be talking about 3 ways. I'm just kind of giving an overview so that you can start to connect with where this is showing up and where the gaps are for you. It's essential that we start to keep our mind on the higher image rather than on the lower concern, or like fixing the problem from the outside in, let's say. We're looking at the inside out approach. That, as we alter the inner world, our inner environment, our inner self-image that we're carrying, that is what will begin to affect the outer conditions and circumstances. So now let's get in, and feel free to comment. Anyone's watching, I tend to stay in my flow, because if I get distracted by the comments, I do lose my flow. But feel free to pop in any reflections, any ahas, or any questions in the moment that you have them, and I will scroll back when I take a pause, just to make sure I'm maintaining some level of continuity in my content here. So let's get into the 3 steps, how to do this. And this is the fun part. I mean, I'm super practical. Again, as an embodiment coach, as a mindset mentor, we always have to look at, okay, what am I going to take away from this? How do I actually apply this in my life, starting right now today? So a first really concrete step to have, again, let this be fun. Well, I won't go there now, but yeah, I mean, it's got to be fun, otherwise we're not going to do it. So these 3 steps that I pulled for us today, my intention is for you to enjoy this process and really extract the juice from it and start to live it. So this is really, I would absolutely suggest writing this down. Do a voice memo or journaling, but we want to start to write down. We're looking at present self versus future self, present self identity versus the identity that is aligned with your desire. So get super radically honest with yourself, really clear, and this shouldn't be hard, because for a lot of us, as soon as we dial into it, we know what it is. Write down the thoughts. Like, what are your default thoughts that you tell yourself about your current situation, about yourself, about your life, about whatever problem or challenge that you are wishing were different? What is those habitual ways of thinking about yourself and your life, basically. It could be, this will never change. This is so-and-so's fault. I don't, I don't know what to do. I can't even see how to do things differently. I'm fed up with this. I can't handle this. Just look at who or what are you blaming? Who or what are you making responsible for the life situation that you wish were different? In what ways are you judging it? Are you judging yourself? In what ways are you buying into the limiting lack thoughts and beliefs? List all those down. Next step, you're going to notice, make a list of the feelings. What, like the default feelings. When you're thinking those thoughts, what are the feelings that precipitate from there? What are the emotions that tend to predominate your day? Hour by hour, day by day. There's usually a top 3 to 5. Is it frustration? Is it despair? Is it kind of that victim complaint, self-pity? Is it, did I say frustration? It might be inadequacy. It might be self-doubt. It might be confusion. It might be jealousy. It might be resignation. Those are a few that are coming to mind that might occur if you are feeling somewhat stuck and frustrated and kind of you're up against a wall, you're at the end of your rope. Lastly, it might be fear. It might be fear too, anxiety. It might be some panic. It might be sadness even. Write those down. And then, so we've got thoughts, we've got feelings, and then you're going to look at, okay, so the byproduct, what are the behaviors that are the byproduct of those thoughts and feelings? So when you're thinking those list of thoughts, when you're feeling that list of feelings, what are the behaviors that unfold from there? Do you, distract yourself on social media? Do you, what else? I'm having a hard time thinking of a few on the fly, but list them in the comments if you want as you're listening. Do you, does your tone of voice, do you get sharp and edgy and kind of have a short fuse with close people that you're close to, with your family, when you wish you were more patient and loving and compassionate, right? Are you more irritable? What are their actions? Yeah, it's often going to be the actions could be, I collapse into self-pity. I acted out on my husband or my wife or my child, or I isolate. Could be I isolate. It could be I judge myself. It could be I spin out in mind drama. It could be I spin my wheels in confusion. It could be I, catastrophize or, go online shopping, any of these things. These are all the things you want to be super vigilant, aware of, because these are basically like the clothes that your current self-image, your current self-identity is wearing. Then you want to start to, now you want to flip that into your future self, the one that is actually living out, who already has this desire or these desires that you want, that you are working towards, that you are really trying to match. What are the thoughts, the feelings, and the behaviors that would correspond to having that desire, to living that life? Make that list in the exact same way I've just told you. Now you sort of have a roadmap, a way to go, a direction to move in. Like I said above, this is where, basically you want to start to outdo you borrow those from that list and you want to start to outdo the old momentum. Baby step at a time. You just might take 1 or 2 or 3 to start to insert those new possibilities into your brain, into your emotional body, into your nervous system, to begin to close the gap and be hyper aware of when you're in one versus the other, what the difference is, and how you can get back into the driver's seat to choose where you are in any given moment. And then, so basically when a really practical way to apply this is because you're going to be practicing being super vigilant and on top of this and be really on your game, make it a game. You're gonna know when you've fallen into the default, and you're gonna have a list of alternatives to reach for. So you can replace the old with one of the new and just try it on. Right? It's like you're getting rid of the old wardrobe and you're replacing it with some new awesome stuff that you want to put on. Now, it's going to feel a little unfamiliar. It could feel awkward. Stick with it. So that's the other piece. Part 2, the next 2 are quicker. The first one was the longest one of my 3. The second one is really now all of this is what I've just said, is it's going to trickle down into an embodiment experience. But in an even more directly embodied way, you can start to be more aware and consciously shift the feeling state, the physical state of how you are in your body, how you're walking, how you're carrying yourself, how you're sitting, how you walk into a room, how you move through a space. This can be paint that before picture and that after picture. And this you can write down, but you can even just envision. Okay, so the version of myself who is already living out this desire that I have, how would she walk through this space? How would she enter this room? How would she, just play with it? What tone of voice would she use? What are the gestures she would naturally take on? How would she, if you're in a relationship, just how would she move her body? How would she carry herself? You get the idea. Again, play with that. Let it be fun. Carol says, sounds like acting from being an adult rather than child behaviors. In a way, but also, Carol, what's fun, I'm not sure which part you grabbed onto there, but also what's fun, and this is a good time to elaborate on, it's also almost like you want to channel your inner child, where the make-believe and the fantasy and the imagination is so dialed in that this is just a whole game and it's effortless. They're in the drama and then they flip to the other drama. So sometimes our adult brain resists this process because it's going to talk us out of it and say, oh, that's just pretend. That's so fake. But in a child's brain, they're thinking, yeah, sure, I can do that, no problem. So we actually want to channel the ease and the effortlessness with which children just switch roles, because they're not the self-image and the self-identification is not so crystallized yet. So let me get back to where I was. Yeah, so incorporate your body in this, especially when you catch yourself in the day and you're kind of in a slump and you can feel yourself kind of falling back into the density and the heaviness of this old self-image that you're trying to release and transform. Engage your body and channel that version of you who's already received that desire, and see how would she feel in her body? What would she do with her body? Lastly, our third step, and if you have questions, pop them in. Lastly, the third step is really just comes down to cultivating the mental strength, the commitment, and the discipline to hold on to this, to do it consistently. Like I said, you are having to entrain your body, your heart, your mind, your nervous system into a whole new channel, paving a new path, creating a new setting and a new groove. And you know how much machinery it takes to build a road, right? Or I don't really want to talk about, deforestation and stuff, but yeah, let's just think of a highway. Paving the highway. It takes a lot of manual labor, a lot of heavy lifting, a lot of machinery, and a lot of hours. So you want to sharpen your mind. This is the mastery level work. Having to outdo the old momentum is requiring you to stay on top of it. So another one I forgot to add up earlier is, around the habits, the thoughts, the feelings, the behaviors, the embodiment work, is to start to consider the past version of you, or what's current. What are the things that you habitually say yes to when you mean no? And the things you habitually say no to when you're actually a yes. And you might channel this future version of you who already has what she desires. What does she say yes to? And what does she say no to? So a great way to kind of evaluate, again, it's like, what's the difference between how I'm living my life, how I'm operating, what my decision process looks like, what I base my choices on, versus this future version of you. Where are your boundaries? Where are her boundaries, right? That's a good one too, because we have multiple points, checkpoints in our day when we are making decisions very unconsciously. So that in and of itself can start to become more conscious. What is fueling your actions? What are you basing your decisions and your choices on, hour to hour, day to day? So, yeah, the mental strength and the discipline to do it. So just kind of a wrap up, when you change how you see yourself in your conscious mind and plant this idea in your subconscious mind, this is what changes your vibration. And you do that by all of the 3 steps I just laid out. Then, because your vibration is shifting, the conditions and circumstances externally in your life will automatically be informed by that new vibration, by that new self-image. So develop the mental strength to do it, build the self-image you really want, because this is what is creating your life. This is what is determining the experience you are having and will have. So it's really worth doing. I mean, I can't really, just as much as we go and work out at the gym, just as much as we, incorporate self-care, just as much as we watch the food that goes into our mouth, just as much as we, have boundaries and mindfulness around what we watch on TV or don't watch. This is the stuff, we need to have that same filter mechanism that's watching the thoughts we're thinking, the feelings we're feeling, and the behaviors we're doing, and bring them into the light and make them as conscious as anything else that you deeply, deeply care about, because your life is the byproduct of all of it. So that is my message to you today. It is Friday afternoon where I am. I am happy to entertain any questions, any requests that come up as you're listening to this replay. I will happily circle back. I can do a part 2, I can do a part 3. So feel free, if you catch the replay over the weekend, pop in your questions, and even pop in, I would love to hear how this landed for you. It's really helpful if you can put a comment here before you leave your listening to really anchor in, what are you taking away? What is that aha that really hit home for you that you want to remember? And writing it down really helps you begin to integrate that. When we notice, it's like the very act of noticing the shifts that we experience and acknowledging them is what empowers them and fuels them and carries them. That's what creates the ripple effect. So let's see. So I can see, so Carol says, I can see where self-sabotage comes in with not doing the self-image work. Correct. Yeah, because when we're in unconsciousness and when we're in default, we tend to we're so much more susceptible to be at the mercy of the external, of other people, of external circumstances, of external events. And, it's just like the candle in the wind, right? We're not going to have that like vertical core, that backbone, the spine, to really be like, no, I'm actually in the driver's seat. I am on the throne. I'm in the throne of my own queendom. So you're right. Our susceptibility, like this is what really develops not only our resilience, but our capacity to determine moment to moment who we intend and aspire and will be in any given situation, no matter what. And that is how resolute we really want to be, because we have that power to be the unlimited creators with the infinite possibilities. So you're exactly right, Carol. And this is where it's fun. Like, why wouldn't we want to master this? Why wouldn't we want to work this muscle? I mean, this is the kind of boot camp that it has massive rewards, and it's the level of freedom that no one can take away from you. So it's been a pleasure sharing this with all of you. Come back, circle back, listen again. There's lots of juicy nuggets in here. Take it out, test drive it in your life, and then come back to me with any questions or comments or celebrations. Yeah, good, Carol. I'm so glad. Keep me updated, and take a couple of nuggets away with you. Try them, start to try them out, because that's where the rubber meets the road. And notice, where you feel shaky and where you feel solid, and then let's work through it together some more next week if you want. All right, have a wonderful weekend, you all, and thanks for tuning in. Bye for now. Ciao.